All right, we are back with another episode of Humans Are Grappling. This is the plug for go like and subscribe and rate and whatever, 5 stars, all that stuff helps me grow, I guess. If you want more people to find this stuff, it would help out a lot. So it's interesting. One of my training partners said a funny word the other day. Incantation. We were trying to think of some other like jujitsu technique word, and incantation came up, and kind of that's like summoning magic or whatever, right? Like you're summoning demons or magic or whatever. It's more a that kind of word than like there's no incantations in jujitsu, right? So like that got onto a topic like with my other friend manifesting, and like how your subconscious finds patterns, and I believe that something is going on with our subconsciouses that we don't fully understand just because they are subconscious, right? It's not a something that we have full control over. But it is, we can recognize what it does. And there's a very ecological explanation for this, where we just find affordances in nature, in our environment, just automatically. Like we don't have to think about that. We don't have to think about how we use our iPhones. We don't have to think about, like, we just know to like move our thumb, scroll our thumb up and down, to like use our computer mouse or type on our keyboards. Like those movement patterns we've learned those so much that we just, when we see a keyboard, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go type on this. I know how I'm going to type. I don't have to have a lot of manual overriding or a manual like definition of like, all right, where's the A and poke type, right? Like, because that's kind of what you start off with. So anyways, affordances is the ecological word for opportunities for action. You just kind of you intuitively figure out what you can do with things, with objects in your environment, without actually doing anything. Like you observe your environment. Like I'm looking at my desk right now, and I'm seeing all kinds of opportunities for. There's a bunch of pencils. There's like a notebook here. There's a bunch of like junk over here and over there. It's like, oh, maybe I could clean that up. There's some like trash that I could clean up, or there's a glass of water that I could sip. Or there's a camera right in front of me that I could stare directly into, right? So we don't process these at the conscious level all the time, because that's overwhelming, right? There's just so much information coming in that our subconscious does a lot of legwork for us, and it only gives us the best shit. It only gives us the highest quality stuff that it thinks that we want to do. So with that being said, not that we actually know what's going on in the subconscious, or like we fully can grasp, or like how do I know what word I'm going to say next, right? That's a weird like thought experiment that Sam Harris talks about, is that we are just kind of making it all up as we go along. Where are these words coming from? I'm not thinking too hard about the next one, but we can have conversations with each other, and we can automatically interpret what each person is thinking and what they're saying pretty automatically. It's kind of crazy how good we are at this, and we kind of take it for granted. Especially, you would understand this if you try to learn a new language as an adult, and how how much you can fully understand, like, oh hey, they're like, people coming and learning English is like super hard because like some languages like actually have some logic and structure to them, and others have like every language has like weird rules and things like that you just have to pick up. But anyways, so there's something like our brain does a lot of automatic processing, and part of this is picking up affordances, how we interact with our environment, opportunities for action in our environment. So we like, people jump on this as like some kind of magic, right? They think, oh, the magic of manifesting, it's the secret, it's the hacking your subconscious or whatever. It's like, well, kind of like it's mysterious because we don't have direct access to it, but that's kind of also the point, is that if we had direct access to it, it would be much slower. That's also a computer concept where the brain of the computer, the CPU, only has access to a limited subset of memory called a cache. And then if it misses the cache, it has to go look up try to look up that thing up, that piece of data or whatever, look up a file. They try to look it up in order from like couple different levels of cache, then tries to look up in RAM or memory, and then it has to try to hit the hard drive. And that's like, hitting disk is the slowest process because there's so much storage of it, right? That's why people have to pause and think through, like, oh, what was that fancy word I was trying to say, or what was their name? Like they're having to access stuff that's not at the tip of their tongue, that's not top of mind, right? You're kind of digging back deep into your memory banks of like, oh, what was that fight? So and so and so and so, right? Some people are better at remembering certain things than others, and actively like looking all this stuff up, like pulling it up in their mind. They're much better at remembering certain dates or certain events like history or important events or whatnot, like, or important like memories. Just like you remember the first time you met your significant other, right? Or you remember your first like cognizant memory, right? As a child, like when you like wake up and you become conscious, you're like, oh wow, what is going on here? So the more stuff that you have to sift through, the slower it is. So that's why our subconscious does a lot of pre-processing for us. And part of that pre-processing is pattern matching. We fucking love to match patterns. It's absolutely essential for us to just operate in the world. We can see, okay, this thing looks like a phone, right? Like this square object, we can kind of pattern match it as, oh, that looks like an iPhone, or this car, these things look like cars, and I'm driving, and oh, I need to make sure I avoid that, or I have to recognize when it's accelerating or decelerating. I've seen these things before, and I know how to react to them, right? So people sell a lot of kind of trick our pattern matching sometimes, in terms of like only selectively showing, if you're into conspiracy videos, selectively only showing certain evidence when other evidence exists and whatnot. But that's neither here nor there. So pattern matching is good, but it's not perfect, right? We have to have, for us to ascertain certain, like, it's good for us locally. Like we can locally see, okay, if I see a car, or if I know whatever, somebody in my family getting a certain disease, okay, maybe that's more likely for me to get that certain disease, right? Because we're genetically related. But that pattern match doesn't work with somebody outside of your family, or the wider population, right? So there's reasons why we made up science, like why we came up with a process to filter through all these different, like, locally, things could be locally true, things could be like true for your experience, for your N of one data, but it may not be true for everyone else. So that's where kind of certain people get hung up on, oh, this worked for me. Okay, great. It worked for you, but it may or may not work for anyone else. Like there's anecdata or whatever. That's kind of like the middle ground between anecdote and real data, but like that's not like a real word even though, right? It's something to say, okay, it's an anecdote that may point to something, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? So anyways, so like our brain loves to filter for things and automatically look for things, which can trick us, sometimes lead us down the wrong path, but in general, we can trust it, right? It's not like we're always second guessing ourselves. That's probably not a good thing if we're always second guessing ourselves about everything. We can't go through life without assuming certain things to be true. So if we can reliably have our subconscious like do stuff for us, then let's like use it a little bit more, right? Let's use it with a little bit more intention. That's another like Greg Souders thing is intention and attention. Is you set your intention for what you're trying to do. So say in a jiu-jitsu role, okay, I've been trying to only get leg locks on people. That is my intention going into every round, basically. Like there's no reason for me to work on anything else, right? Like I'm not really focusing on anything else. So I'm paying attention to opportunities to enter into leg locks, and I'm trying to figure out different ways to leg pummel, to enter into legs from different positions. I'm giving up good, like really dominant positions to get to the legs. Like I'm doing some dumb stuff along the way. Like, don't get me wrong, I am messing up. But once I set my intention of, I want to get a leg lock, I want to get a straight ankle lock, or now I'm progressing into, all right, I want to try to get into cross ashi, and then like tie up the secondary leg and get that inside heel hook. That's my new goal now. It's like a step deeper, like, because I can ice people with straight ankles pretty frequently and counter leg locks pretty frequently, but that's like a very like surface level leg lock. It's not a system or anything like that. It doesn't guarantee success. Like, it doesn't immobilize people a ton. People kind of can have a lot of movement in me trying to get them with that. So I'm trying to immobilize them. Immobilization leads to strangulation and breaking, another Greg Souders thing. So my intention is doing those leg locks, and like I'm every round, for the last month or so, 2 months even, probably, I'm focusing on getting legs. So how do we do this in the rest of our life, right? How do we figure out how to like set our intention and do things that we know we want to do, and maybe we haven't prioritized yet or whatever. So like for me, I'm trying to make time for working on this this new business thing that it's all in my head. It's all in like Apple Notes, and I haven't done anything with it yet. So I still need to work on it. I need to just set time every day in order to do it, right? So for me, it's recognizing, okay, I need a specific time to do it at. Um, and I know I just got done with saying, oh, I've been super consistent with lifting weights before jujitsu, but for certain, but that's like also a great time for me to think. So I'm going to try to get super consistent with lifting weights after jujitsu, but before my first meeting of the day for work. So I have like, I wake up and then I have my best thoughts. My battery's at 100% once I wake up. And then I can just kind of dive into this. It's not urgent because I don't rely on it currently, clearly, but it's important. It's an important piece of work that I feel like I need to do in order to take my career, quote unquote, career, professional career, whatever, to the next level. That I feel like it's a way for me to kind of codify and demonstrate mastery over how I can apply all the stuff that I've learned in DevOps, but to everyone, right? So I'm not like, totally set on what I'm going to do yet, or even like dive into it or whatever. But that's just kind of, I'm trying to double down on my current skill set of DevOps and go deeper into it. And I need to figure out what people's problems are with DevOps, and then try to find solutions and kind of present myself as the solution. So how I figure that out is like, how do I figure out this time problem? Is like, okay, I do really well. I'm really good at waking up early, but to a certain point, right? Like I can't wake up even earlier than I have, because then I'm just going to bed super early, and like I'm kind of missing out on life at that point. So I'm looking for opportunities for action. I'm looking for affordances. So my affordance in the morning is I have my personal computer, my personal laptop downstairs near the coffee at the kitchen island, and then it's ready to go, ready for me to punch in my thoughts in the morning, right? That reminds me, oh, hey, I need to go and do that, right? I sit there, sip my coffee, and my brain gets going. Like that's where I like to do this kind of option, like this extra work, like my most creative work, where I don't really need a dual screen action or whatever, right? I just need to kind of have the page of notes in front of me and just type and just put words to text, to computer screen text. So that's that time box or that time slot appeared to me as like, oh, okay, that's what I've noticed is where I do my best work, basically, is first thing in the morning. So yeah, that's what I'm currently, quote unquote, manifesting or whatever for me, right? Or incantation, or to put a different word to it, right? Or I don't know. I'm just trying to pattern match for myself. Hey, this is the thing that I need to do. I need to chip away at it. So it helps to have a large, scary goal, something that you're afraid of failing at, something that you're like, oh, I'm not totally sure if I can do that. Great. That is the perfect place to start, because it's something that you want to do, right? Like if it's a large, scary goal, it's like, oh wow, I want to do well at ADCC trials. Like I've done 2 of them already. Didn't do well at this last one, but I did pretty well at the first one. I guess I'm still gonna hang my hat on that. I don't know what how I'm gonna throw out the most recent data point. I don't know. It's just I had a lot of mental health stuff going on the last 2 years, so I'm not gonna totally count my focus wasn't totally there for the whole 2 years on ADCC trials 2024. But the previous time it basically like I the the big scary goal was always up until that point to compete against the highest level grapplers in the world, and I saw that and I did it, and that's giving me that experience of the West Coast Trials 2022 round of 16 had Elder Cruz. He beat me by a back take. I also lost this last one by a back take, so maybe I should fix my back defense a little bit. That might be a pattern, right? That I need to match, and I need to like actually work on that. But so yeah, seeing the highest level and like getting there, that kind of made me realize, oh hey, I can basically do anything. Like this is, if I worked, and I know how hard I worked on that for that first trials, and how important that was for me, and I didn't let a lot of things that could have derail it. I stayed on course. So having that large scary goal can kind of focus your intention of like, all right, I want to go and start a business, or I want to go and get a new job, or I want to go and I don't know, whatever else you want to do. Like you want to go meet new friends, you want to move across the country or something, right? Like there could be anything, right? You have this big scary goal that you're not totally sure that you can do, right? It's a little bit uncomfortable. It has to be a little bit uncomfortable. Otherwise, you would have done it. If it was easy, you would just do it, right? But if it's hard, you know it's big and scary. It's like, okay, I know with some amount of like there's still a question mark. You're saying, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm not totally sure if the effort that I'm going to put in is going to get me the desired output, and that's the unknown, is like getting from where you are to where you want to go. There's a question mark there. So then now, once you have the big scary goal, break it down into like stuff you can do every day. And that's kind of what I'm doing with this like business idea, is how can I work on this every day and think about this every day, and breaking that into like little tiny bits of like, all right, let me work on this particular aspect for today. There's like 6 different aspects, but let me just focus on this one and list out all the problems that I can solve, that for example, and just start chipping away at things. Like in jiu-jitsu, for the last 2 months, I am focusing on leg locks, and I'm chipping away at that. I'm chipping away at all the different leg entanglement configurations, and now they're less scary. Like it's less now that I've actually have hands-on experience with them. Sorry, I'm fucking around with my pop mic thing. One sec. Okay. So we are chipping away at things, and what you can do every day in order to get a little bit closer to your goal. And okay, yeah, I was talking about doing leg locks every day, moving through all these different leg locking configurations. And the more familiar you are by doing the thing, right, you're applying your intention and focusing your attention to the thing that you're doing, the problem becomes clearer and less hairy or less scary, right? Like we're increasing the resolution, right? The first big, at first when we define our big scary problem, our big scary goal, we're not quite sure how to do it. So we're kind of working backwards, and as we're doing the thing every day, doing some kind of action towards it. we have no idea if it's a step to the left, a step to the right, step forward towards it, or if it's a step around, like we don't know how close we're getting with each iteration, but we're trying to point in the direction of the big scary goal. And the thing is, like, the old saying is, luck is preparation meeting opportunity. So by doing whatever you are doing that you're trying to work on every day, you're preparing for an opportunity that you also don't quite know when it's going to happen. Well, for me, in ADCC 2026 or Craig Jones Invitational, who knows? Maybe I can straight ankle lock a guy because it's out of the meta or whatever, and I'll be really good at them or something, right? I don't know. I don't know when the next competition use I'm going to have for leg locks, because I haven't really had one. I haven't really done... Actually, yeah, I engaged in a 50-50 shootout, and I was not as savvy to them like 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, and I lost by, in 50-50, one second. So you're doing work right now for something in the future that you have no idea yet, right? Like you're thinking an opportunity is going to look a certain way, or you're preparing for something that you see a gap in the market or something, right? If you're making a business, or you see a gap in the jiu-jitsu market, and you have some kind of like secret technique that you're honing and you're going to implement at some future date, right? So of course, like there is like luck that you have no control over, right? There, of course, I'm speaking in terms of like what we do have control over. There, certain people have different backgrounds or different abilities and whatnot, and I'm kind of just speaking to people who are just wanting to get better in whatever shape or form possible. And while acknowledging that, yeah, people do have different different resources available to them, and different possibilities that are opportunities afforded to them, right? So it's like I'm not speaking as if this is easy or whatever, because like I said, it's big scary problem, like big scary goal or whatever, right? But it's something that you have to just start chipping away at for probably a long time. Probably, like, I'm looking at in 2-year increments of 80cc trials. I live my life 80cc trials at a time, right? But what are you willing to sit through for potentially a long time, and enjoy, like, and not just grind through it in kind of hashtag hustle culture, hashtag whatever, right? Like, that's, what are you kind of, I'm not even going to use the word obsessed, because that doesn't really describe it either. Is, what are you content with doing that you want to see make happen in the world? So it's kind of like somebody, like, you watch this your friend watches this TV series, and they try to get you into it, and you watch the first episode, and you're like, I don't know, like, it's kind of boring. I'm not too sure about it. Well, that for me, that's Shogun. Right, like, as a contemporary example, like, Shogun is kind of slow at the beginning, but my friends are like, oh no, man, it gets better. So I'm like, oh, really? I'm like 4 episodes in. I don't know. I'm not totally sure about that. Like, maybe it's not for me. Who knows? So, like, what are the boring parts of your life that you're willing to sit through, that are going to happen anyway, right? You're going to have kind of doing things day in and day out, and you're going to do certain things mindlessly. You're going to brush your teeth mindlessly. You're going to hopefully floss mindlessly. You're going to drive to and from work. But what are things that you can set your intention on in order to make a small degree difference 1 year from now, right? What are some daily habits that you can add that you're working on something, and then that kind of changes your course ever so slightly and puts you in a different spot 1 month from now, 6 months from now, whatever, a year, 18 months, 2 years, the next ADCC trials. What things can you do daily that are going to put you in a different place at a certain time, that on a certain time frame that you want to do, right? So yeah, what is your build up to the ending that you want to have, right? To whatever story that you're telling yourself, because ultimately that's what that goal is. It's a story. It's a story that you're telling yourself that, hey, I'm gonna try to do this. And like Alex Hormozi calls this the Rocky like training montage, right? It's a minute long or 30 seconds long, and Rocky's doing all the training stuff, but that could be years. That could be, what are you willing to stick with, that you believe in, that you have some amount of skill in, that you have some affinity towards, like you don't hate it. Like you don't want to do something that you hate for years in order to get some kind of payout, and like you end up not getting it, and you end up hating your life for those years anyway, right? Like people do that with college all the time. Like I kind of did that with college. I really I took computer engineering, which is half computer hardware and half software. So I was working on circuits and like kind of electronics half of the time, and then the other half was like programming and kind of software development. And I did a lot of hardware, and I kind of realized, I don't know, a little bit too late that I didn't want to do a lot of hardware. So I ended up doing a master's degree in computer science, which is like programming, and just to get more exposure to that, because yeah, like I kind of white knuckled it through my computer through my electronics classes, and didn't really, like, I appreciate knowing it now. Like I don't know, just my 10,000 foot view of electronics is that they're magic and we rely on quantum effects like all the time, every day. Quantum interactions, like electrons are popping from one side of the circuit board to the, like on one side of a component to the other. Like we rely on that for everything, for a lot of our, for certain components, basically like block electron flow. I forget, diodes, I guess. Yeah. Like for transistors and whatnot, it's a wall. It's a literal like wall that electrons have to pop out of existence through this like semiconductor material and pop over to the other side of that wall and continue on their way, right? So that's magic to me. I have some understanding. I don't remember anything else than that. Maybe V equals IR, voltage equals current times resistance. But anyways, the setup for me in that time frame was, all right, I'm going to do 4 + 1 years of college, and I'm going to get a good job, and I'll be probably be okay, like financially. Like that was always the trade, or like always like the goal was like, all right, I want to get a good job, I want to be set, like I want to be gainfully employed. And eventually I did it. And then the next challenge appeared, right? Like once I was the new guy at at my job. I was like, oh, I'm very I'm new and I have no idea what's going on. I'm very junior. I it's kind of like when you graduate, you go from like white to blue belt, and then you're like, I did that much effort for like for the first belt for a blue belt. Like I worked my ass off and competed a ton and whatever, and I'm still not very good at jiu-jitsu, right? Like that's the kind of the realization of like jumping from college into the professional workforce is like, oh, there's people who this is what they do. Well, this is what they do for fun. One, like those people are always the best, like, or the best at their craft because they enjoy it. They're going to do it way more than you anyway. So don't fight those same battles. If you don't enjoy it, like somebody who's it's their thing, like figure out a different way to around that. Like figure out presenting, figure out like talking to people, like communicating in small groups or whatever, right? Like you're figure out orthogonal skill sets that make you a more complete professional than someone. You're not going to compete heads up with somebody on if it's their craft, if it's their thing, if they're pure like specialist. There's no way you're going to win if that is not your craft, if that is not your life's purpose or whatever, right? So become a T-shaped person like that. That's the very, I don't know, the very corporate way of talking about that. Be like specialize in stuff, like in something deep, but also have like a broad skill set that's a little bit shallow, but you can connect the dots between multiple things easier. So yeah, so that was like the setup and the payoff. Like these are story elements. Like again, like this is storytelling. You are telling yourself, you are telling your subconscious, hey, I'm going to tell you the story, and we're going to look for opportunities to execute on the story. We're going to look for opportunities to live out this story. You're telling like one last example is my wife and I were talking about getting a new car, and we're looking at like a Toyota SUV, Toyota RAV4 or something, right? So all of a sudden, we notice all these Toyota RAV4s driving around without us even like trying, right? You just notice, oh shit, like there are a lot of them out there. So that's like the most common application of this, like pattern matching or manifesting or whatever, right? Like your subconscious is going to be constantly looking out for opportunities or affordances, opportunities for action on your environment. So let's help program our subconscious to do things a little bit, offload some of our overhead into our subconscious and say, like, have the goal. I want to start this business by end of Q3 2024. Maybe that's my goal. That might actually be my goal. Who knows? And that's so I'm gonna take steps towards that. Like I'm booking time every day for myself at my best time for me, at my most creative state, like waking up, my battery is fully charged, my brain is just getting up out of sleep, I'm getting caffeinated, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to think, I can be make up new things and kind of express myself, right, and figure things out. That's always been the best time for me working. And so that's the setup, and the setup may be maybe a quarter, maybe a couple quarters, maybe a year until I see any results. I'm not dependent on this. That's the other tricky part is if you're dependent on this outcome, then yeah, you're gonna have to like put more time in than an hour a day. Like for me, I'm trying to just be consistent at first and not have intensity, and kind of build that as part of my day. And over time, I'll look for more and more affordances of like, okay, maybe I should reach out to people, and start to market this thing somehow, or talk to whoever and get on some podcasts, some technical podcasts maybe, and explain my career and plug myself or whatever, right? Like there's going to be things that come along as I do this thing, as I work through $100 million offers by Alex Hormozy, and eventually $100 million leads also by Alex Hormozy. I'm using his framework to do this thing, and I think like that's a very, like, if you're starting a business, I think these are like the two most, like, I haven't even started the leads yet, but I'm working through the offers, and like it's by far the most valuable business book I've ever read. So anyways, there's the setup and payoff. So what is the story you want to tell yourself? What is the direction that you want to go? And understand that there's a setup portion. Like you are setting up the story. This is the slow part of the story. This is the first, I don't know. I don't know any other, like this is Dune 1, and then that sets up Dune 2, and the payoff is in Dune 2 where it's a lot more action or whatnot, or the I don't know, Star Wars Episode 1 sets up the first half of the movie, sets up the payoff of Darth Maul at the end, right? Like that. I don't know. Think of whatever story that you know, and all of these different, you kind of had to sit through some things to understand what is going on, to finally like have this all click in and be like, oh, that's like when Darth Maul lights up the second side of his lightsaber, like my 10-year-old mind was blown, right? Like that's just, holy shit, I didn't know you could have a double-bladed lightsaber. Like that was, but I sat through like an hour and a half of movie until before then, right? For it to finally, for this thing to reveal itself. So that's luck, is the payoff is we don't know where our preparation is going to meet opportunity, but that's like part of this non-linear progression, right? Is that it's not a chip away incremental progress of like, all right, I'm going to, at least if you're working on a business or jiu-jitsu or whatever, it's not a linear payoff of like, all right, I'm going to work every hour for $10 an hour. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm trying to work for, all right, I'm going to work for an hour a day, and then eventually I'm going to get a big fucking payout because I'm able to make some big fucking deal, and like I'm just going to chip away at this. I'm going to put in an hour a day for I don't care how many hours, because eventually something is going to hit, right? Same thing with jiu-jitsu. You're chipping away, you're training every day. You don't know when ADCC is going to call you up because Craig Jones keeps stealing the best grapplers and you got like fourth at trials, and Mo's calling you up and be like, hey, are you ready to get on the big stage of ADCC, right? So it's yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. So it's going to yeah, so you have to do a lot of work for an unknown amount of payoff. But if you're confident in your direction and you're willing to just kind of sit through the boring part, and you kind of enjoy the thing as you go along, or really enjoy the thing, who knows, like be the specialist who like just dives into their craft. That's the optimal ideal situation. Is just you go deeper, you just double down, like Gary Vee calls it, tripling down on whatever thing that you're good at, and just do more of that. Just become the expert in whatever, and try to make money from that. So anyways, I'm running a little bit long here. Again, like and subscribe. Please let me know what you want to see from me. Like, respond in the Spotify comments say what's up, or the YouTube comments say what's up. Let me know if this helps or anything. I just, yeah, I don't know. I like getting on here, having some notes in front of me, and kind of talking around those notes. I think that it's pretty fun and lets me connect a bunch of dots together. And that's kind of why I started this podcast anyway, is I see grappling and software engineering as like the same thing. And now I'm starting to see businesses the same, like everything is the same thing. Like you can draw analogies between all these different things, between getting better. Like it's all skills, right? It's all learning. That's why I'm so like jazzed about ecological approach, is that it is I think it's the fundamental theory of learning, and you can tie all these things together, in terms of skill acquisition and interacting with your environment, and building things up over time. So anyways, I'm gonna stop here, but yeah, like and subscribe, follow. Please let me know if you want me to ramble on about something else. All right, see you.